So, friends, welcome to the 22nd lecture, where we will talk about some more details on process safety management. In this lecture, we will also talk about a list of software which are generally used for HSC practices, safety practices. This will be the concluding lecture in module 3 of online course on HSC practices in offshore and petroleum engineering. We are talking about lectures on module 3, where we discussed accident modeling, risk assessment and management. The moment we talk about process safety, generally the PSM standards, that is process and safety management standards in oil and gas companies, emphasize implementation of systematic and potentially complex program. So, PSM actually emphasize implementation of systematic and potentially complex program. The main objectives of this should be to identify, evaluate, prevent and respond to release of hazard chemicals, in the workplace. So, that should be actually the main or the principal objective of PSM. Interestingly, PSM has certain exceptions for an oil and gas operations. Let us look at them now. Let us see what are these exceptions. First, let us see why such exceptions are allowed. So, this is a very common question which one will have in his mind: why do we allow exceptions for oil and gas sector? Interestingly, it is for the prime reason that OSHA has begun a separate rule making for its unique nature of operation. So, oil and gas sector has unique nature of operation. So, all the general standards as applicable to any process industry and safety management program cannot be implemented blindly for oil and gas sector, number 1. Number 2, there are other industrial standards which are stringent upon the operations at oil and gas platforms. For example, OSHA. So, when you are following these kind of standards which are much more stringent and specific upon the nature of operations happening in oil and gas industry, one can have exceptions from the general rules and regulations of process safety management. So, therefore, the classical exceptions are: PSM excludes flammable liquids stored in atmospheric storage tanks. That is one classical exemption what PSM gives as far as oil and gas sector is concerned. PSM standards normally are applicable to unoccupied remote facilities, the above exceptions which are classical are justifiable under practical conditions, because this has imposed limitation on applicability of PSM standards to oil and gas exploration production operations. The main reason, as I earlier said, the main reason of such exceptions are oil and gas facilities are already in strict compliance with numerous safety standards which are tailored to the operations that happen on oil and gas sector alone. For example, while most of the atmospheric storage tanks in use at oil and gas facilities are currently exempted from PSM standards, they must however comply to OSHA requirements of flammable liquid standards as well as other state and local safety standards. So, do not think that PSM exceptions should really give oversight of safety, because oil and gas industries have other standards which are useful in terms of flammable liquid standards as given by OSHA, which are much more strict and stringent compared to general standards applicable to any process industry as recommended by a PSM program. There is one more parallel agency which is also implementing standards stricter than PSM to oil and gas sector, that is EPA, that is called United States Environmental Protection Agency. These standards are specific to oil and gas industries with modulations applicable with a greater emphasis on examining these facilities to their compliance with general duty clause of Clean Air Act. Okay? That is a very interesting program what a module has in EPA, that is called Clean Air Act. Okay? So, this will have rules which are stringently imposed on oil and gas industry with greater emphasis on examining these facilities for a very clean air pollution free risk management program. So, this also includes a detailed risk management program which is recommended for its strict compliance in oil and gas industries. Therefore, when you got parallel agencies like EPA, like OSHA, whose standards are much stricter and very particular, which is emphasizing better risk management program on oil and gas sector. So, therefore, there are certain classical exemptions given in process safety management program which are otherwise very generic for any process industry, of course including oil and gas sector. Having said this, having realized the importance of accident modeling, risk management and assessment Let us come quickly on the converging stage of this whole program, where we are going to talk about software which are generally used in HSE management. Specifically, we are not talking about software which are used for modeling accidents, which I already said in the beginning, etc. When we use them, there are references given in NPTEL website. Please look at them and try to have an hands-on experience on these softwares. We are not talking about HSE management program in general, with more emphasis on safety practices. So, let us say software used in HSE management. The first one could be CMO compliance. CMO compliance is one of the commonly used software in HSE environment management in offshore industries. This software is designed to meet the requirements of HSE management team. Okay. In terms of preparing your driving workforce in case of emergency evacuation, HSE, or let us say safety practices as a culture, intricacies on hot work permits, etc. This is helpful to ensure that the process and practices followed are safe and supported by international safety regulations. That is very important. They also check whether the safety practices followed by the company or as per international safety regulations. That is why it is called CMO compliance. Okay. It checks the compliance of or follow up of the safety practices with respect to the international safety regulations. That is very important. CMO compliance is easy to access, easy to use, and provide valuable real time reports to all the team members of HSE management. Therefore, implementation and practicing and following this particular software is very easy, and it is a very effective tool to manage HSE processes in terms of its safety adaptability to international safety norms. The second software is, which is very commonly used in HSE management, is pyramids. This is one of the again commonly used tool for integrated HSE software solution. Software solution. It deals with trends in hazard management, risk analysis, tools, and overall risk management. This is one of the very powerful reporting tool for HSE management. So, any changes, modifications made in the process in terms of imposing threat to safety can be easily detected by the software. It means any changes or modifications done either in the equipment layout or in the process modification or in the other scenarios etc., can be easily modeled and can be easily reported and detected by pyramid. So, that is very important. This software can be used to play a large role in compliance, minimization of risk, and overall very interestingly saving for the business in terms of economic perspective, because it also handles successfully the risk management tool for the industry. The next software which is also commonly practiced in HSE industry is Integram. Integram is actually a global leading software for HSE management, which talks about qualitative and quantitative risk assessments. It addresses both qualitative and quantitative tools of risk assessment. It also talks about environmental quality management, it also deals with third party risk assessment and management, which can be customized as per our useful rules and regulations followed by the industrial practices. It is ideally suitable almost for all oil and gas sector industries. Integram interestingly is a web based software. So, any authorized login to the software from any sector of oil and gas industries located in a specific region can also have a very interesting human interruption in terms of reporting near miss events, reporting safety violations, reporting failure of safety and protection equipments, failure of explosion protection equipments, and most importantly update of all inspection reports. Since it is web based, there can be a very wide entry of lateral data which can be interconnected or intra connected within the industry of a specific group of companies, which can have a first hand information about very vital documents which are all necessary for an upkeep of safety program. Okay. This has got something called observation cards. These are some of the modules which are very popular in the specific software. Incident management, and corrective actions, centralized control document, risk assessment and control systems, audit reports generation and checking, calendar for training management, which is a very important part of capacity building in offshore industry, competency assessments, contractor and supplier management, details of work log or let us say work permit reports, details of lockout and tags report, and overall a consolidated management reporting. So, one can see this particular software as a very integrated supporting system, which is very useful for a third party management in risk assessment and management, and since it is web based, it has got a very interesting connectivity of intranet facilities between the companies of a similar group located in a specific situation. All these functions which has been discussed can be combined in one application, allows therefore the Integram software to be a very useful application for clientship in offshore industry. The functionality of Integram software ensures that only changes are replicated, where therefore it provides a fast, reliable service for remote locations. The next, which is also commonly used, is Rivo. Rivo actually provides a solution for total safety management of a software platform. Rivo actually includes audit management, it includes corrective and preventive actions, hazard management and control, risk assessment and prevention, etc. It also talks about environmental management, risk assessment, incident management, industrial safety management, interestingly injury reporting, which is very vital, inspection management, occupational health management, and OSHA record keeping. Which are some of the important features of this software, which also extends to use safety risk assessment, training management, waste management. So, this is one of the important application tool which is used very commonly in oil and gas sector. So, friends, in this lecture, which was the concluding lecture for module 3 of HSC practices for oil and gas industry, we discussed about some of the important aspects of process safety management, which is a very generic form. However, we focused on exceptions which are offered by PSM to oil and gas sector. We also saw the rules and the important regulations which are followed by oil and gas industry, which are much more strict in comparison to the standard regulations of PSM applicable to any process industry. We further extend the discussion to discuss on what are the important software tools which are very commonly used for HSE management in terms of safety practices. So, friends, with the overall set of lectures in module 1, 2 and 3, where we talked about environmental management, we talked about dispersion risk assessment models, and we talked about accident modeling, risk assessment and management in the whole. I hope you would have followed the lectures in detail. Assignments and tudes are posted in the website. A list of references and textbooks are available in the NPTEL website of this course. So, I hope you will follow the entire lectures in order and take an exam at the end of the semester, so that you qualify to get a certificate issued by IIT Madras and the NPTEL portal. So, wish you best of luck and a good reading. Always keep a positive hope, so that we keep on implementing all these practices what we have studied so far in real time world, so that let us build a very interesting, safe and healthy oil and gas production systems for the nation as well as for the world. Thank you very much. Good luck and bye.